Welcome to the Strong Life Coach podcast, where we speak life, coach life, write life, and lead life. Today, we're rejoined by Kisha Pollard, KP, in the studio, and you probably noticed a difference because I'm no longer on the left side. I'm on the right side, which means I'm not the host today. It is KP, first time on the Strong Life Coach, where we actually have somebody else other than me being the host. So KP, welcome back to the show and welcome to the host spot.
Thank you. I am so honored that you asked me to come back.
All right.
Yes, and I get to sit in the left chair. My left side is the best. So thank you. I appreciate it.
You know what I think? I think that when it comes to speaking, when I'm gauging success, it's not so much if I make somebody laugh or if I make somebody cry or if goosebumps, if guests get goosebumps, which those things have happened and I've seen them happen.
Right.
It's not even if they cheer at the end, but it's if the leader asks me to come back to do it again. That's my gauge of success. So, but it's similar with podcasts because last time you were here, I'm saying, hey, come back. But then also, you were invited back because you did such a great job, and I feel like there's a great chemistry you and I had.
Absolutely.
But then also, I think there's an element of I'm grateful you coming back to me. I felt, hey, this was successful. It must have been a decent experience for you to be willing to come back and give me some of your time. So
honored is the label I would give this.
Hey, there we go.
I'm grateful. When you hit me up, I was grateful that you wanted me back, but then to host.
Yes.
I'm the first guest host.
That's right. That's
okay.
right. Hey.
That's right.
Yes. So I will pass the host mic to you at this point, and then we'll kick it off.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about your journey. I know the last time I was here, we talked about, I kind of interviewed you in my interview.
Right. You kind of stole some of the mic in the host mic.
I was getting those curious questions, right? Open-ended questions.
Right.
And I think you have an amazing story to tell. And I am honored to be able to have this conversation with you. So let's get started, right?
Let's go.
And as I was preparing at home, I think about, how the journey to get here, and then how do you keep going forward and momentum, right? So that's kind of how it'll be in my mind. That's the story that we'll tell, the journey that we'll take your viewers on.
Sure.
So what motivated you to launch Strong Life Coach?
So, there's always a story, and then there's a story behind the story. And I believe there's a story behind the story behind the story.
Okay, let's do it.
So it probably started in November of last year.
Okay.
Because my wife and I, we had talked about like this idea of starting a speaking business, coaching business for years. And what we were thinking, once we turn 37 years old, that's when we do it. Like build up a good cushion, live way under our means. And so, have a great amount of money set up so that, failure wasn't scary whatsoever.
Right.
Just put ourselves in a great spot. But in November of last year, we were both working at Nationwide, and I was working at Nationwide, and my boss's boss set up a meeting on my calendar, which sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not.
Right.
And then a few of my peers, we also saw that boss's meeting get put in our calendar, and we're like, oh, okay, but then everybody didn't get it though. It was only like 7 of us.
Right.
So then, but getting to notice that my specific role was being eliminated, and that I was going to be going through a formal layoff, which, like, to go through, I think there's feelings of like, you feel indisposable, you feel like marginalized, you feel less than, and especially when you assess the whole group and you're going, hold on, there's like 35 others. And like, so then my bottom 8, or how does this paint me and my brand in my picture? How is it going to look? What is my wife going to think? What are my family members going to think? What are my friends going to think? And because I'm a person of integrity, like, I'm not going to like lie about it. I'm going to tell you how it really is,
Exactly, yeah.
And so I think that's where the motivation, I mean, there's like probably levels of the motivation, but going through that, the announcement of the layoff was I think what sparked it as far as why now versus later, if that makes sense.
It does. So November happens,
right?
You're put on notice. Hey, there's a potential, right? You're on a list. Right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Not potential. This is...
Oh, it was definite.
Definite. Hey, this is the last...
So it wasn't like a pre-notice.
Right. It was, hey, March is your last day with the company.
Okay.
Unless you find another role, which that's kind of a story too. Because the week before, I had applied for a lateral role with Nationwide. And that role was going to stay open. They were still going to hire for it. And so I had to put in the app. And then the hiring manager for that role had overseen me for a few months. Robin, actually, I had her podcast with me a couple of weeks ago.
Shout out to Robin.
Right. So, and I felt like, man, me and Robin are connected. We're in tune. She, we had a great connection when we were when she was overseeing me on her team, and so I felt like the opportunity for me to have I felt good about my chances of getting the role on her team.
Right.
But I also wanted to find out what was going into this layoff, like what were the details and the specifics, and the way it all wrapped up is. And Nationwide took care of me. I praise them forever for all the ways they've invested in me along the way, but even the way they set it up, because they wanted it to be as smooth as a transition as possible for me to go from Nationwide to my next move. So if I would go through the whole way of that formal layoff, then they would give me the 3 full months as a paid employee without responsibilities. That was big for me.
Yeah.
Then it would be severance pay. And then they were willing to support afterwards as well if I didn't have anything set up, right? So, and again, because I'm a person of take, I'm going to keep it real right now. So they said, look, with my salary, they would max out unemployment, which is, I think, 8-9 months, and it's $13K. So they would do that $2K a month,
right,
for me to make that next move. So for me, I was like, okay. And then I started asking around and asking other people about how common is this? Like to get the 3 months, the 7-week severance, and then unemployment. And a lot of people told me that layoffs don't happen like that often.
Yeah. And
so if somebody was going to go through a layoff, people kept telling me, this is the best way it could have happened. And I was like, oh, okay. So even though you felt horrible, right? You feel like the trash that was thrown out, or maybe modern day vernacular, we'd say, I was picked to be voted off the island. Right. And don't get me wrong. When I first found out, I said, let me look at all my stats. And I'm like, I'm not bottom 8 of quality, not bottom 8. I'm like top 8 of efficiency. I'm looking at attendance. I'm looking at different responsibilities. And there were some things I was like, okay, like some of my engagement scores that I looked at, okay, those were a struggle. But I went through the whole thing and I was like, okay, like, does this have a divine hand to it?
Right.
And I was convinced that it did. And I had a dream of starting a business, but now I have the perfect launch pad to start it. So that's kind of like the story behind the story behind the story.
So the first night, right? So you come home and I'm sure you share the news with your wife,
right?
And you tell her, what do you do? Are you immediately like trying to get your LLC? You're writing your business canvas, like, well, because I know that you're an activator, right? So, what's the first night, and then we'll keep going. But what's the first night, first week? I'll even say the first week.
So I'll tell you. So first, so I'm like, I walk out of that meeting. Let me go call my wife. I'm not even sure she's gonna answer. She's a nurse,
right?
She does answer. I tell her response. She laughs, not like condescending laugh, like we've always been set up for success our entire times. And there's this we know we're both people of faith, and like there's this proverb that talks about that noble character woman, from Proverbs 31, right?
Yes.
And it says she'll laugh at the days to come because there's nothing she's afraid of. And it reminded me that that's who she was. She's like, look, there's no worries, no fears, no doubts, no insecurities. We've always been taken care of, and we could trust God through this whole thing.
Yeah.
So she was like strong, steady, and then it was John Maxwell's content. We've been like we had like this dream plan for me to be able to get John Maxwell certified and licensed. So I've been reading his books. I mean, my bookcase is over there. If I probably have like whatever 25, 30, probably more of his books, dissecting his content, memorizing like his table of contents for different books, just because I know they're great principles.
Right.
And we began in that first week looking at getting that certification. It was expensive. It was, I mean, and I know we're trained this not to like put your price out like that, right. But for us, it was like 20 to 50% of a 4-year degree, as far as depending on where you get the degree from, right?
Right.
But we're looking at it, and I've been looking at it for a few years, but we didn't pull the trigger because it was such a high price. But all right, we're gonna do it. So we're gonna get John Maxwell certified to get his brand aligned with me, because nobody knows Daniel Guajardo, right? I mean, some people in my circle know me, and they know that I have a gift to communicate, connect.
Absolutely.
But outside of that, people don't know Derek Guajardo. They can't say my last name. They can't spell my last name.
True.
But they know him. They know John Maxwell. So if I'm
Yeah.
going to align myself with somebody who has a brand that it's world renowned, you know, he's globally recognized and known, and then to have him as that social proof, if you will, that I'm with his principles. I use his training, his mentorship, to guide me in what I'm doing. So that's like the first week. But I think it was like the first 2.5 days were like feeling like all those negative things.
Right.
Like you feeling like the worst of the worst. You feel like trash. You feel like so I guess for me it was like it was almost like the cycles of grief, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like denial, like, no, this isn't happening.
Right, yeah.
No, like surely they're gonna call me back in and say, no, just kidding, you know, like.
Let me check somebody else's calendar and see. You know? Let me see, maybe it didn't hit my calendar yet, right? I'm on there.
Yeah,
I didn't get the invite.
Yeah. So, but then back to that other role, we were looking at that other role to stay at Nationwide because this is the secure route.
Yeah.
Right. It's safe. Like we're compensated great there.
Yes.
Like I've never complained about that. About how well I was compensated while working there. And then we had a conversation, all right, to start this business or to stay and try to get the role. The role wasn't promised to me.
Right.
But I felt positive about my chances. But ultimately deciding, you know what, 33 years old, we're as young as we're ever going to be.
Yes.
We're more energetic than we're ever going to be. We're in the best financial place we could probably be in. Don't have pets, don't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that reduces expenses tremendously.
It does.
So anyway, that's the first week. So we're like, all right. She was, I think, like 70, 80% ready to start the business. I was like 50-50. Like, hey, maybe God should tell me if I get this job or not. Maybe that's the answer, you know?
You're like the 7 miracles, right? So he changed water to wine. He's done all these things.
Yeah,
but one more sign. One more. We'll know he's the Messiah. Like one more, God.
Yeah. That was a little more. But so you know what? This is the perfect time. So.
And so leading into the next question, it's about preparation for such a huge life change and major event. And I know you and I have talked about, you know, saving money and like, you know, not buying bottled water and all, you know, all of these things. So what else? What went into the preparation so that when you call your wife, she's laughing, not sarcastically, like in a very confident, like, no, for a time such as this.
Right. So, so I started at Nationwide as a CSR, right? I'm like answering the phone, taking customer service calls. And then, you know, you coached me up, you know, and then you got me, I feel like, you know, you really got me into that next role, the leadership role, supervising, you know, CSRs and frontline representatives. And in that space, when we got that pay increase, you know, it was a significant pay increase, like 60% or something like that. Like it was significant. But we made a decision, do we want to give into lifestyle inflation? Because my salary has inflated.
Yes.
Does my lifestyle have to inflate as well? And we were like, nah, like, you know, for me, I was driving my 1993 Toyota Corolla. So I was like, all right, just because I got a new job, just because I'm a supervisor now, and just because I'm wearing, you know, and I didn't want to like give in the lifestyle, but I didn't want to match the role. Like, let me dress better than I did before.
Right.
But for the most part, keeping our expenses exactly the same and not like adding new expenses to our plate paid off huge because not spending a lot of money, like even though more money was coming in, was a big deal. So that's like kind of like on the finance side. But then you get everything that was happening behind the scenes at Nationwide. Yeah. So when I first came on, I remember Antonia Alvarado, you know, it's Tony. She was in Titan at the time, you know. So if people don't know, Titan is a division of Nationwide. It's a company within Nationwide at the time. And she asked me if I'd go do a 1-hour workshop for their LDP or their leadership development program, or it was called some other thing. But ultimately, it was developing their leaders, their top performers. And I'm like, yeah, like what? I said, yeah. Wait, what's the topic? You know? And then she goes, well, it's about networking and building relationships. I'm like, yeah, I can talk about that all day. So I put together content for her, and then the leadership team are the developing leaders. And then again, back to that gauge of success. Not if they're laughing, crying, goosebumps, or
Mhm.
cheering at the end, but does the leader of the group ask me to come back? And then she did. So then she asked me to come back because the leader sees something that everybody else doesn't, right?
Right.
So then she asked me to come back. And then, so I did this the following year, 2014, I believe. No. Did it 2014 and 2015. And then they asked me to come back in 2016. So it's 3 years in a row doing that workshop for them.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
And then the LDP on the standard product side, where I was, they asked if I'd go do the leadership workshop for listening in the leadership role. So then I put another hour of content for the standard product side. And then I was asked to come back again. Okay, hey, it's successful.
Right.
And then they said, hey, will you come back and do elevator speech, do content for elevator speeches,
Mhm.
short speeches just to build connection. Okay, boom, did that. And then they asked if I do building appreciation in the workplace. So appreciation and engagement. So like Nationwide, again, that's what I'm saying. I will never badmouth Nationwide.
Right.
Because they were developing me to develop this confidence and the content
Mhm.
in the corporate world, which was super special. And I began to figure out there's a difference between speaking here than other places. So outside of Nationwide, I was asked to speak at I was asked to officiate a wedding. I'm going like, who me? Like, there's pastors and priests and ministers and people that are paid staff of the church, and you're
Right.
asking a regular corporate insurance guy to do your wedding. I said, look, there's plenty of other people, but if you really want me to do it, I'll do it. But it taught me something different because when I'm preparing that workshop in the corporate world, it's high energy
Mhm.
and it's principles to help them in their career, in their leadership, in their influence. But then when I'm preparing a wedding ceremony, it's medium energy, not the same energy, but then all the content, it's not personal anecdotes or personal vulnerability. It's about showcasing their love story in front of their closest friends and their family members.
Right.
But it's doing research, but it's different kind of research. So now I'm asking, all right, when did you first know you wanted to marry her? When did you first know you wanted to marry him? When's the first time y'all said I love you to each other? Well, tell me about your first date. When did you first meet? What did you think when you first saw each other? So you're doing all this like love research for this wedding ceremony,
Right.
but it's to make them look good, in that space. And then I was asked to do a funeral, to speak at funerals. So I'm like, again, different, very different, but similar. So if the corporate world was high energy, the wedding was medium energy, the funeral was low energy, but they're all had different purposes too. This is I'm equipping you in your career.
Right.
This is showcasing a love story. This is honoring a legacy and a
Mhm.
life while comforting the family. So each one had a different purpose. So I'm almost accidentally building out a speaking portfolio.
That's what it sounds like.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then it was like speaking in the prison, which you and I have
Yeah,
talked about. Then it was
absolutely.
speaking to orphans from Central America, and then it was speaking at different locations, not just in San Antonio anymore. It was speaking and this is all while I'm at Nationwide. So it was
Yeah.
at this Dallas, and then Austin, and then Oklahoma, and I was like, okay. So I was able, when I was stepping out of Nationwide, I can still hold up opportunities I've already had to speak. That I feel like it gave me a lot of confidence too. Like my speaking portfolio, it's smaller than a lot of other people, but at the same time, I have a lot of experience that a lot of people don't have as well. So that's kind of like a long answer of hey, what
No.
prepared
Yeah.
me for that next move. But there's the financial discipline side, and then there's the experience side.
And the gift making way for you the whole time, like even at work, to get recognized by your employer, to be able to do what your passion, what your purpose is,
Right.
is nothing short of what I would call dope. Being able to work with you and to be asked to do leadership development programs. I mean,
Mhm.
if I could get paid to do that and to impact new employees, I wish that was a job, right? So whenever that synergy comes together, it is like it breeds dopeness. So
Right.
shout out to understanding that that's how it works.
Yeah, right. And the thing about it is, so again, I won't ever badmouth Nationwide. Now, the responsibilities that I had in my role, as you know, you were in my role before,
Right.
where it was, I was only doing the stuff that I loved though, like 10% of the time or less.
For sure.
So that was something that always kind of hit me while at Nationwide. And in the raw, authentic thought was, if I can spend 80, 90% of my time doing what I love, I would take 50% less money. And we were budgeted for that. So I was like, hey, if an opportunity opens up, I'd be super interested. So that's kind of like what's happening behind the scenes. So again, I don't think that's not going nationwide. It's just kind of the culture. You know, we have a lot of responsibilities,
Absolutely.
a lot of different hats you're wearing. So
Absolutely.
So yeah.
But when that 10% happens, it's like a good day, right? It's like,
oh yeah,
baby.
yeah. I mean, plus it was outside of my role,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And it's even some of that too. When they announced the layoff, I'm going, what about all those workshops y'all had me doing? Like, you had me doing all these workshops, and then I'm voted off. Like, there's a lot of other people that weren't doing the workshops, but it was something you go through. But then you go, no. Let me not use the workshops to complain.
Right.
Let me use it to cultivate gratitude, because without Nationwide there giving me those opportunities, I wouldn't be able to have the same pitches as I'm going into these other businesses and say, I've done work with a Fortune 100. What are y'all now? Fortune 100, Fortune 50?
Fortune 73.
73. There we go. So I've done work with a Fortune 73 company.
Yes. And now you have a repository to pull from. And the content, too, had already kind of been crafted and created.
Exactly. So I take all that with me. So all that is good to go. And then the relationships. Again, with you, I think of Robin. I think of a bunch of other people have just invested in me. I think Julian Alanis, I gave a speech last year, and he comes up to me and he says, "You're missing your calling." Walks away. I'm going, you just gonna drop that bomb like that and then leave? But he goes like, "You're missing it."
Yeah.
And it's somebody, for people who don't know, it was our role, the supervisor, then is the manager role. So he was a manager coming over to say that. And it's just crazy when somebody who cares about you, but then they see something different than what I was doing. Rachel Gallagher, then Perez now, told me the same thing. She's like, "Yeah, Nationwide just has you on rent." She's like, "Don't tell nobody," but like, she's like, "Nationwide has you on rent. You're just gonna be here for a little while." So all of that was kind of preparing me. I think that was kind of like emotional preparation.
Right.
So, but to your point though, a lot of signs that I was having a little hard time seeing when I got the layoff notice.
So laid off, we talked about the first week, and now we know all the preparation, be it intentional or purpose rather, right, for that November day. So now you decide to do your business. Right. Strong Life Coach, right? So help me to understand, what's the difference between coaching and counseling? I know sometimes it's intertwined. Right. Let's talk about it.
So counseling, and I love, and I think counseling is wonderful. I think it's incredible. I had a counselor on the podcast 2 days ago, Mark Tovar. So Mark, when you're listening to this, thinking about you. Counseling is incredible. It meets great needs. It helps people to get unstuck. It helps people emotionally. It helps people mentally. It helps. Now, with coaching, the way I see it at this point is, if counseling is helping somebody to get to a place of normalcy once again, coaching is helping somebody to get from normalcy to success. So if counseling might be about helping somebody work through an issue that they went through in the past, maybe some trauma that they've been through, or getting back to functioning the way they functioned before, coaching is about forward thinking. It's not so much about retroactive thinking.
Got you.
But there's similarity in that it's client centered. In that when I'm coaching somebody, we're looking at their life. So we're going over, I call them the 13 pillars of life, right? So we're going over assessing their life right now, and where are you most satisfied, where are you least satisfied. So we're looking at one acronym I use is called FRESH. So your financial, your romantic, your emotional, mental, your social relationships, and your health and fitness. So this is the fresh areas of life. We want to assess that. And then we look at the next acronym, which is ICE. They call it, so it's your immediate family, your career, profession, and business. And then it's your extended family. And the third one is the acronym SIP, which is your spiritual, how you feeling about your spirituality, your, what is the other one? Your impact on the community, and then your physical comfort. And the last two is RV, which is that your relaxation and recreation and your virtues. But so we'll assess that in the coaching realm to see how they're doing currently. But in coaching, it's very action oriented. So I'm holding people accountable for taking specific actions on their plan every 14 days. But in counseling, it's not so much about necessarily taking action, But it might be, but it might get to to me, you're working from a place of weakness versus a place of strength. You're working from a place of potentially deficiency. I'm not connecting with my partner the way I used to be, but I'm trying to get there. Or you hear about couples who go to counseling when it's not going well. So you might go to coaching because no, I am doing well, but I want to be even better. So that's kind of, a brief one. I mean, I've wrote content on like the differences and principles that I've seen along the way, but I think there are special people that are in the counselors and the counselor and therapy role that can withstand that emotional weight of counseling someone. And as the gifts that I have, I'm just not wired that way, and it's difficult for me to be in counseling. I know that's not it's not a gift and a calling for me.
Which is interesting to hear, because when I think of someone going into a prison, it seems I'm very emotional and volatile, and I would think that would be part of. And I don't know. I know we talked some about what you used to do in the prison, and I know share the good news. Right now, that was part of it. But I mean, just your presence alone would inspire them to just want to like do that emotional vomit. So it's interesting for me to hear today. Like, nah, that's not my calling. Yeah, that's interesting.
Right. And even when people have asked me about like counseling or like ministry in the past, hey, like what about ministry? And a lot of times when I saw other ministers, there was a significant amount of time spent with counseling, which again, I think that's a beautiful thing. Right. I'm not knocking that whatsoever. But as far as each one of us has to look at our calendar, there's 168 hours in a week, and go, what's the best way for me to use this time to help people, and is it 10 hours of counseling, 5 hours of counseling, 3 hours of counseling, or what if I could use that and speak in deposit principles? And that's what, even I think what people have told me along the way, I've had people come up to me years after I've given a speech and like quote like what I've said. And that's like it's affirmation, like keep speaking, like keep doing this area you're great at. And they talk about if you're working in an area of weakness, you'll only like improve it up to mediocrity. But if you're working in an area of strength, then you can really shine and really set yourself apart. So, but yeah, back to the prison thing. But to the prison thing, even in that setting, I think they appreciated me using my gift. And there's a lot of speaking, and there was listening in that. I would have them give their stories. Right. Like, hey, you want to share your story, how you got from point A to point B? You don't have to share why you're in prison, but it's tell us about you, your family, what you love, and people happen to share things, personal things as well. But in that space, and to me, I'm still helping them work on their strengths. Like, what are you great in? Is it art? All right, do your artwork. Give that away. Serve people with your art. Oh, you're a singer. Okay, do that to serve people. But I'm gonna stay in my strength, and I'm gonna help people get into their strengths. So that's like, to me, where like kind of coaching and speaking kind of come together in some ways.
Awesome stuff.
But there's a lot of like listening, purposeful question asking, right. in both from the coaching and counseling perspective. But something happens, I think, in the coaching model, because some people ask, oh, who's your ideal client, right? In the business world, when I'm with my business owner friends, we're talking, hey, how can I help you? How can you help me? And help. People are like, hey, who can I look out for you when I meet somebody at the store or getting coffee, and right. And I love having relationships like that. And that's what I'm involved in a B&I group, and that's what it's all about. Like we get together and we just refer one another. And when that question comes up, who's your ideal client? But also, who's actually not an ideal client for you, but I might think they're ideal for you. And I tell people it's somebody that you might think is my ideal client is somebody who needs counseling and therapy. Because they're down. Right. Now, I tell people that pay my bills, that I'm aiming to have pay my bills, they're the top 15%. Now, it doesn't mean I neglect the bottom 85%, because the top 15%, right? That's where you charge a premium. I'm John Maxwell coach for a reason, because I got his brand and I want to be able to charge his prices and then all of that. But it doesn't mean I'm neglecting the bottom 85%. So I provide a lot of free content like this podcast. It's gonna be free, right? Right. So anybody who wants to listen to this, they can tune into it. Top 15, bottom 85, wherever people are at, you could come on and get on this. If I give a speech, I'll put it online for people to listen to and learn from. If I write an article, it's online for people to, again, get principles. Anybody could get that. But then my professional services that I provide, that ideal client, it's that top 15%. So yeah.
And so that's a good segue into my next question. What's your target audience when it comes to your clientele, right?
Yes. I'll tell you, it's happy dads. Happy dads. That makes sense?
Say more. We've all been coaching methodology down nationwide. So I'm gonna need you to say more.
So, that is an acronym.
Okay. I literally saw a jovial dad, like, okay, he wants to be his best self, right? Living his best life.
No, happy doctors, it's a D.
Okay.
Happy attorneys, that's an A. And happy dentists, it's a D. Happy dads. So,
unpack. You got to unpack that. Even hearing that, like, okay, I got it. I know the who, but I need
Okay, check this out. So you can Google this, right? You Google the top 5 professions that have the worst suicide rates. Crazy, right? And I just mentioned three of the top 5 professions: dentists, attorneys, doctors. You go, wait, what? Like, some of the most educated, the most income. They have the most income generated, but that's just where they are. But what happens, and I'm sitting down with a few attorneys and I'm just talking and listening, and they're telling me about how prevalent suicide is, substance abuse, alcohol addiction is in their industries. A lot of pressure. There's expectations, competition, perceived sense of failure. That's happening in those industries. But again, like I said, happy. So and that's not necessarily whom I'm targeting, but somebody who's happy and who's thinking about others and who has an uplifting mindset can give me an opportunity to come in and make a difference. So let's throw out an example. Let's say there's a law firm. They have 12 attorneys. 2 of them are happy. So those are the 2 that I want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are I want to meet, I want to do work with, and I want them to invite me in. So I speak to all of them. Okay, so I go speak to all of them, and then begin to make a difference. So, but I need the happy ones to invite me in, because the happy ones, they might have some confidence, they might have some optimism about what's possible, but they have the income to pay for my services. It's a high income service. And one thing I decided, I never wanted somebody. I hated the idea of salesmen selling poor folks items that they couldn't afford.
Right.
Like I think my mom bought this like super expensive vacuum when I was a kid.
Yes.
And I was and like I remember I think I was going to play basketball or something. And I was leaving and the sales dude was inside our house and he was about to start vacuuming for my mom. And I told my mom, hey, you better not buy this thing, right? So I leave, go play basketball, come back, and she bought it.
Yeah, he probably did a good job.
He did.
They'll even shampoo a part of the carpet. I've had them come
Yeah, because they'll show you the difference between, all right, this is one that, hey, pull out your vacuum. Yeah. This is what yours picks up in this one area. We're going to come with our vacuum right on the same spot. And they did it. He went above and beyond, sweating over there. And dude sold my mom. He sold my mom on his vacuum. But
100 payments at $9.99, right?
yeah.
Just for her.
So I'm going, I never want to be the guy who's trying to get money for somebody who can't afford it. So again, I give people the spa treatment, I call it. It's the speeches, podcasts, and articles to the bottom 85%. But the top 15%, I want to get in there with coaching. I want to get in there with training. I want to get in there for leadership development. And to really get in there. So they actually have the income to pay for my services. And there are significant needs in there. I'm told that people tend to treat them like they're not human beings because they think they always got it all together.
Right.
But then they feed into that, right? So if you think I have it all together, then whenever I'm around you, I'm going to keep on living up to that typecast. Right. Okay. You think I have it all together, so I'm gonna keep on feeding you that information. But then, but there are real problems, and I want to be a part of the solution. So that's my target audience again to take care of the premium charges, but also they give me the opportunity to do all of my free content. So, you know, they're paying well, I'm able to do the free content. So another acronym I use is a hug. A hug is the other one. H is, again, high income. U is uplifting. G is growth oriented. If somebody really wants to grow, that's somebody I want to work with. So let's say somebody isn't a dentist or an attorney or a doctor, but they want to be high income or they want to be effective or successful. Then somebody who's a hug, who they're still high income. Again, I don't want to charge a poor person,
Right.
but they're uplifting and they're growth oriented. That's somebody I want to work with. So
You haven't escaped the acronyms. I thought you left those in Nationwide.
I tell you, every time I'm over here taking a shower and I'm like, ooh, H, I need a vowel. And then is it a vowel? Yeah, I need a vowel. Okay, U.
Yeah.
What is it? What's a positive word for you? Okay, uplifting. And then G, growth oriented. Okay, yeah. So they come to me all the time, but it's giving pitches all the time now. You have like 45 seconds to give your pitch.
Yeah.
And what am I looking for? Give you a dad. When people go, wait, what?
Yeah.
A dad.
It was intriguing. It gave a visual of a happy dad.
Happy dad. Yeah. So anyway, that's like target audience.
So obstacles, you know, you have a very positive, sunny disposition.
Oof.
And first of all, thanks for sharing like all of this behind the scenes. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's what I was nerdy, like, nah, how did it all happen, right? Because you guys should see the lights and the cameras. It's pretty impressive. The setup and all of this, right, that he has going on. So let's talk obstacles and, you know, what obstacles have you faced and I'm sure overcome or overcoming as you build out your business.
Okay, so sales. I know it's kind of talked about a little bit. Sales, like I was challenged because I had a problem with sales, and I had a problem with people selling to me. And somebody told me, if you as an entrepreneur and as a business builder are terrible at sales, you're gonna be terrible at business building. And it was like, ooh, like, okay, kind of sharp, you know. And then, but I realized I did. I don't like when people sell to me. You know, I'm like, why are you ringing my door? Why are you coming up to my table and at this Mexican restaurant when I'm having a taco? You know, like, come on, like, leave me alone. I'm just trying to do my thing. But unpackaging, what's my true problem? What's my problem with sales? So it's like an onion. Okay, pull that layer back. You know, the 5 whys. Why is it?
Right.
What's happened in your past? You know, do some, you know, almost some counseling, coaching. And I have these like instances. I remember we were sitting at a Mexican restaurant, my wife and I. Dude came in selling Abercrombie Fierce, the cologne. I like the scent. It's sweet.
He came in the Mexican restaurant? Were you in Mexico?
No.
Where do they do that at? Here?
Yeah. It's over here off of Kool-Aid or something.
Oh,
yeah.
Never been there. Okay,
so comes in, cologne smells good, looks good, half price, buy it. So I buy it. Next day, put it on. Scent lasts for 10 minutes and then does not work it anymore. So, but that left an imprint on me. And I went, I hate the idea of a product being sold that's actually not that good. Okay, but do I have to be that guy? Or am I selling a product that's not that good? That's overpriced. But I realized in my business, I don't have to sell a product that's not that good. I believe in the product. So it's like this. The way I think about it now, it's if I can help somebody have principles. You illustrate this principle, you know, in an incredible way, right? You coached me 3-4 sessions before that interview, before going through the interview process, or even during the interview process, at Nationwide, and salary jumped 60%. So how much would I value that coaching session? You know, like what price would I put on it?
Right.
You helped me through that. Again, I say before anyone that without you there, I don't get the job. So you gave me that opportunity because you coached me. So I'm forgetting the exact number. Maybe it was like 16K or who knows what, but it was a significant number of salary jump. But how much? What price do you put on that? Okay, so I help people with their relationships. With that's their social relationships, platonic relationships, but also your romantic relationships. So now there's 2 ways for sure. But if I'm giving somebody the best principles that have ever been used in building relationships, in a speech, what's the value of that? Is there a significant? And I believe there is. You know, you help somebody to manage conflict. People don't know how to apologize. People don't know how to get from point A to point B and identify what their goals are in this conflict and how to get out of it. They get stuck. What's the value on that? You can help somebody to manage conflict for the rest of their lives if they get the principles down.
Right.
So going back to this, do I value the product? Wait, I value it. I've paid for seminars, conferences, certifications, licenses because I believe in it. So for me, that was a big thing, which is sales. I don't like being sold to. Okay, now I like being sold to because, hey, I mean, if you believe in your product, if I believe in my product, I talk about it too. I talk about, speaking and coaching almost all the time now.
Right.
Now, I'm not trying to sell people on it because a lot of people can't afford it. But somebody who can, we'll have more of those. Let me try to close this versus just talk about it. So that was one. I mentioned the other one earlier, like not trying to sell to poor people. Like I don't want somebody putting on credit to be with me.
Like that vacuum cleaner. I'm not saying your mom did that, Shout out to mama. But my mama would have done it easily, Yeah.
I don't want people putting themselves in a worse position to get it. But even that too, that people, I asked myself, and I haven't landed this one, which is, if somebody who didn't have the money, but they wanted to put it on credit, was trying to get my coaching sessions, and I knew it could help them to actually get more money, what would I do? So I haven't been there yet, but it's something I'm thinking about because I do believe in having a great budget and living by that budget.
Absolutely.
And putting yourself in a place where you have more peace about what you're spending. So that was a big obstacle for me, sales.
And that's you're conquering, or is conquer, like where is that on the?
Oh, okay. Conquering, because sometimes I like being around people so much. I'm like, oh, like remember to like let them know about something that you offer, because I have free content that people buy one of the books that I do content on, some of John Maxwell's content, but I can be caught up with hey, we're just enjoying the time together, but then not giving people the opportunity to buy. So I think I wouldn't say mastered, but I think I'm overcoming is the obstacle. I think that I'm kind of getting through, and I'm finding all of the reasons that I once had aren't actually valid. Like I love when HEB sells me bananas. Like I love when they sell me apples. And in fact, I love it so much. If you told me right now you're going to Walmart to get some produce, I would try to dissuade you from a competitor. I would like, no, don't go to Walmart, go to HEB. And so I would actively advocate for HEB's produce against a competitor, and they're not even paying me. So I clearly don't have a problem with sales.
Right.
If it's a good product at a good price for something you understand.
Exactly.
So again, like a buyer's remorse, another one. I never want somebody to go, oh, I bought this, but I really didn't want it. Or somebody convince. I think that's the kind of same thing, like convincing somebody, twisting their arm to do it, or like, and I heard a great principle, which is, in the John Maxwell team, we don't believe in convincing people to buy our products, our services. It's if I have to convince you to sign up for coaching, then I'll have to convince you to show up to coaching, and I'll have to convince you to keep coming, or to sign up for something else. Like, and that's too much work. But people who actually want it, who are hungry right now, those are the people I want to work with. So yeah.
This kind of ties into cost. I know that you mentioned your happy dads, and they make Skrilla. Can we say that on your podcast? They're in a financial position to invest in you and what you offer them. So to whatever level of detail you want to divulge, but
that's good. That's good. I think for somebody who wants to review costs, hey, we can set up a one-on-one
for sure.
session.
Yeah.
But
tell them I referred you. There's no discount attached to that, but just tell them KP referred you.
But so there's packages, right? So there's packages that I offer, for people that say coaching. So one, let's say somebody wants to sign up. Again, it's a premium product. So let me prepare the audience. Hey, brace yourself with the price. Right. My mom, almost choked. She was like, "Wait, what?" But it's a premium product. But so like I offer like a 6 month contracts, right? So then 6 month contracts are $600 a session, right? So then that's that mark. Now if it's a 9 month contract, $500 a session. If it's a 12 month contract, it's $400 a session. Now if somebody's going, and the sessions are 14 days or twice a month. If somebody's going, all right, I really want the product, but the price is still at a range. And for me as a business owner, there's things that are just as valuable as money. So what I've done is I built contracts that could get the price down to $200 a session. If people like, for me, it's like, if you invite all your friends to like my Facebook page, that's a $100 value. All right, put that first session down to $300. Or you're like, all right, hey, we'll take a picture together and then we'll put it out that, hey, I hired Derek as my success coach. $100 value, $50 value on Facebook, $50 value on LinkedIn. And this is new. This is the new ways, creative ways to get the price down. If somebody shares different content of mine, it's a $10 value. But for somebody who actually wants the sessions, but $400 a session is still out of their range, but they're like, hey, I could get it down to $200 for you, but it'll be built into the contract that you'll be taking specific actions to get it down there. So it's just creative ways to create mutual wins on both sides. So that's what it is right now. I know we're at, what's today's date? The 5th?
The 15th.
16th? 15th? 15th?
Yeah.
15th of September in 2019. So if somebody sees this video or podcast like 4 months from now, my prices may have all changed.
Yes, subject to change, right?
So just know that as of right now.
Small print at the bottom. Price is subject to change without notification, mind you. So don't reference this.
Right. I'll send you the individual contract, all that. So anyway, that's kind of what that looks like. But the idea is creating mutual wins, providing a great service. I believe the service that I provide is up to par with the price, and then sharing that for the people who, again, it's in their price range and they're looking to really invest in themselves.
So what if I want to invite you to come like to VA and do like something at a church? Like, do you have offerings for that? To have you come and coach and speak, or do like, a seminar? Right. Is that part of your menu? Is that what you call it? And
again, I'm always transparent with you, in general, I believe in that. You'll hear this from me, but I believe an ugly truth is always better than a pretty lie. Always. Ugly truth is always better than a pretty lie. So I say that because when people want to know about my experience, right, I can give you the truth and tell you about all of my experience. But the first workshop in the church world, as much as my experience has been spoken, in a variety of places, again, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas, Dallas, Austin, and Killeen, Blanco, Hondo. So places I've spoken from a faith, on the faith end, but I didn't do my first workshop till August, right? So then my first workshop was a 2-hour workshop. And
Last month, August,
okay. Right. So when you said seminar, so I always want people to know, like, I'm going to keep it 100% real with what I have and have not done. But I've built out content, and I've given a number of speeches on a variety of content. So faith-based content and content on prayer. So like connecting with God, all right, or digging into the word. So I got 26 principles on that. Got navigating through your past from a faith-based perspective. Understanding confidence, the 26 principles of confidence, faith-based perspective that I wrote out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so something like that, completely open to, and I think working with the group, because you want to honor people's budget, and then you also want to create this mutual wins. So, but yeah, something like that would be awesome. VA, so right now I've spoken in Ohio, Oklahoma, and Texas. So I'm just trying to, if you have an opportunity for me in VA, just let me know.
Okay, I will see what I can do.
So, hey, and in Liberty University, graduated from Liberty. So, Lynchburg has a special place in my heart.
As mine too. Yeah, that's awesome. I have to start noodling and thinking about, okay, I need you to come and talk to all the single women. Like, we need to get our lives together, Derek, fix our lives. Sorry, Ayala. There's a new coach in town. He's going to fix all of our lives.
No, you know what? It's funny you brought up the women, because nationwide last year had me speak at the women's group, the women's associate resource group.
Okay.
But then like that invitation, I was like, me? Like talking to the right person. But it was a blast. It was one of my favorite invitations I've ever received. Probably like up there, like with being asked to officiate a wedding, and then that invitation. That's awesome. Favorite invitation, because I think a lot of times these things happen, and my inward response is, who am I? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. To be trusted with this platform, with these people, but also what a joy it is to build people up and equip people with principles that I know have worked to change my life. I've seen it change other people's lives. But yeah, so as creative as you want to be with it, Kisha.
Okay.
So you got some women's groups for me. You got some faith groups. You got Virginia.
Yes.
Hey, whatever it is. That's like ultimate love for me. I talk about like love language. I think like that, or that element of somebody opening up a door is, can't even put a price on that.
We've put it out there, so someone's gonna grab it.
Yeah, there we go.
And if I have to do some watering or planting, we got you. So let's see what happens.
Let's go.
We'll take Strong Life Coach podcast on the road.
I know.
Right?
You know what?
Coming live from VA. 2 up, 2 down, right?
That's right. VA. Yes. Okay.
So what surprises? What surprises have you experienced in starting your own business, stepping out of corporate America, or even with your clients? Like any big surprises? No, that's a big question.
Oh yes. I think it's kind of what you just hit, like, of people who are willing like to help, who are like super passionate about trying to help me. I'm going for real, like what it means to me when somebody said, would you be willing to speak for 2 hours at a workshop in Ohio, in Akron, Ohio? I'm going like, you believe in me that much? And I believe in me, but part of me was going, have I given you enough evidence to believe in me? Like, you think about that one person, and the one person he was the first person in my life to say 2 hours worth of time, I believe in giving that to you with my group. And I'm just like, I'm just completely shocked and surprised, but super grateful going, and I kind of trace back, like, what experiences have I had with this person? And he was a mentor to me. He was one of the couples when my wife and I were just boyfriend and girlfriend. We both have been through this situation in life where we wouldn't say, I think the marriages that were around us weren't marriages that we wanted. Let me put it like that. I guess that's a political way to say it, right? But we wanted to put admirable marriages around us, because if we wanted to do it in a way that was meaningful, special, and then we wanted to just put great couples around us. So we were in San Antonio. She was in Dallas when we became boyfriend and girlfriend. I was in San Antonio. So then we found a couple in Dallas. We're like, hey, who do we respect the most here? And it was this married couple, Rob and Shanika. They were there. And then over here was Nick and Noy over here. So whenever I'd go up for dates, we try to get time with them at some point. And then when she would come down, get time with them. So with Nick and Noy. So then Rob and Shanika moved to, I think it was Maryland and then Ohio, in Akron. And then he's the one that invited me out. But I was like, I couldn't remember a single time I've ever spoken in front of him, like where he's actually seen me and felt me speak. Right. Which is, I feel like, if you see me and feel me speak, I feel like that's my hook, right? You actually experience the product, then it makes sense for me. But I couldn't place a single memory of him hearing me speak. I thought like maybe social media. Social media, he could have potentially, seen something. Right. But yeah, things like that. I'm going, it's incredible. In Port Arthur, called me and asked if I'd go speak to 700 children. Not faith-based. This is just at an elementary school. And I'm going like, between here and Port Arthur, that's like a 2 or 3 hour drive. Like, all the people you could ask in the whole planet, like me. And I'm going, that is children. Our society cherishes children even more than money, right? Like, and that's how I see it but somebody trusting me enough to go influence children, that's like super special. Like, so that people jumping on podcasts, it's a scary thing when I ask, put things out there. I was completely prepared for you to say no, right? Really? Yeah, not because I doubt you, but because you just think people, it's time. You have a lot going on. You have a lot of responsibilities at work. It wouldn't have been surprising because of you, the amount of things that you have in your life, for you to go, no, hey, like this is a stressful time. You flying out tomorrow.
Right. I'm
going like, you're spending time here in the podcast studio before you fly out to Des Moines. I'm over here like in I don't know. I would like to think I would do the same thing. I might go, man, I need to figure out what I'm wearing, pack, you know,
packed,
you know, that.
It's okay.
But it's super surprising. People jumping on podcasts. You know, it's had an attorney on, counselor on, people that weren't in my circle before.
Right.
Hopping in, and people that have been in my circle, and they're like, even like Robin, I'm like, would she say yes? Who knows? Like, you know, and then, hey, she said yes. So that's super cool to me.
All great surprises.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was supposed to say a negative one?
No. Not at all. Not at all. So, you know, I'm not a big sports person.
Yeah.
But I watch, and I even talked about it. I did a little quick non-track talk, right, about Antonio Brown. And are you familiar with Antonio Brown?
I'm not. I'm like, I've seen stuff that people have said, but I'm not like super.
He's an extreme talent, right? And so I was watching, they were doing a show. He used to be on the Raiders, now he's on the Patriots. And the coach was saying, like, even when in practice, no pads, what he brings to the field elevates everyone else amongst them. But he needs you to coach him, because outside of that, he is a hot mess. So I was just going to say, on behalf of, I'm not a fan, I'm a 49ers fan. I'm on behalf of Antonio Brown. Like, he's a happy daddy. Athlete would be your A, right? Instead of returning. Add that one to your repository, right? Yeah. The Spurs are in town, right? Get you some athletes.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting. I mean, a great talent, and but just there's other things around him that just distracts him. Nothing to do with strong life coaching, but I just wanted to say,
I put that seed out there.
Yeah, change your A. Yes, you should have a lot of A's for your happy days.
There we go. I like that.
So as we wrap up, you know, what do you want the people to know about you and your journey? This is only the beginning. I mean, and I'm grateful to be a part of this free 99 podcast and to say you start first. But I'm honored. Thank you again for the opportunity and the continued support.
Yeah. Thank you. I think ultimately it's like what I want people to know. I asked myself this. Can I put it into one word? It's like elevate. 2 words, elevate others. Yeah, 3 words, communicate to elevate. Like, that's kind of like, if I boil down what I'm doing, like, that's what it is. Like, just trying to help people to get better. At the core area of their thoughts, like, I got content on this, how to think better. I got content on how to speak better, how to use your words, where it makes a difference. What actions to take, you know, and how to have better relationships, how to have better romance. Like, you name it, anything that I've learned, because I've learned from a lot of great people. And the cool thing about it is I haven't made up anything that I do.
Right.
I've either lived it and felt it and experienced it and go, oh, that's a good one. Like, oh, like anchoring my spouse above others. Okay, Song of Songs, you know, like a lily among thorns is my darling among the maidens. He's just going like, this flower is like, this woman is a flower among, they're all other thorns, and she's the flower. And I got that principle just there, and I put it at the beginning of my marriage content, the letter A, you know, anchor above. And but it's about helping people. So I just want to help people, whether it's their marriages, I want to help them. If somebody in their career, I want to help them. Somebody in their friendships, I want to help them. Somebody in their thinking, speaking, their actions, I just want to help them. So yeah.
Well, again, thanks for the opportunity. I'm going to start a GoFundMe so I can let Derek coach me. I make great bank at Nationwide, but I ain't.
You might be a hug.
Okay, let's talk about it. I can get some likes and post some pictures. But in all sincerity, thanks again for having me on. Thanks for all that you do, your message and what you represent. Because I do know I've seen the pictures, like your throwback pictures. I've seen the curly hair thugging out. Thank you for calling Nationwide. This is DG, right? But thank you for all that you do and for sewing into me and believing into me to have me on, and even to allow me to sit in the left seat. So I appreciate you, sir.
Right,
I don't want to close out your podcast.
Hey, I'll close it out. Hey, if you're tuning in, this is the Strong Life Coach Podcast with special guest host Kisha Pollard.
Yes.
I'm guesting today on the right side. I'm Derek. Speak life, coach life, write life, and lead life. If you want to find a way to help me out, it's going to be with you like it, you share the podcast, you comment, you subscribe to it, And if you have a special guest you want on the show, you know, somebody that's a dad, you know, somebody that's a hug, you know, somebody that, an athlete, I don't know, somebody you would want to hear their story. Let me know. I would love to host them. But yeah, we're the Strong Life Coach Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.